Well, here's another fire. Today I'm on the XT. And the one video I put out, I was on CRF, we got down some muddy roads and stuff, and we had a good time. And it was great. Yesterday, I got the Tenere out, and I rode nothing but road. And I enjoyed that. And then today, I've got the XT. I'm down here in the bottom here where I've been more than once, and I built fire. Okay, and kind of what I want to say something about is people become creatures of habit. And the bad thing about having habits, a lot of them you have and you don't realize that you have them. And a habit don't necessarily have to be like picking your nose in public or coughing and sneezing and your elbow or anything like that. A habit can be anything. A habit can be the way you walk. A habit can be the way you talk. A habit can be the way that you do things or you think about things, which makes you do things in that perspective. Just to give you an example. Okay, I worked in a factory for 19 years straight, okay, and then before that I worked in another factory. So all my life I've spent time on the concrete, and it after a while, after walking on a hard surface like that, you get into you automatically go into a walk that for concrete. Well, since I've been retired, I get out and I walk on a lot of soft dirt, walk on a lot of sand, leaves, and hilly and uneven surfaces. And guess what? My knees don't hurt no more because I make them do things that they wasn't used to doing, because I got out of the habit of walking on something that's always been solid and flat and all this kind of stuff. And so it's a bad habit. And you get these habits without even knowing it. It's like another example of a bad habit. And I did the same thing when I was working. You rush around all week long there, and so you think, boy, the weekend's here, and this weekend I'm going to do this or I'm going to do that, and you run and run, and then when the time comes when you can do that, you're sitting back there, and Murphy's Law kicks in, and anything can screw up sure as hell does, and everything just goes wrong, everything. But you know what? You fight it anyway. And you get all pissed off. You finally get to where you want to be, whether it's fishing, walking in the woods, motorcycle, whatever it is. You finally get there, and you're so stressed up that your relaxing time, it just ain't what it should be. Okay, so what I'm saying is a person has to be careful with these little habits. I was out at the lake today. And I was just walking along the shoreline there, and I just got thinking about that. And I thought, I ain't got no plans. I ain't got no time frame. And I'm just out here wasting time, doing absolutely nothing productive and nothing like this. And I'm thinking, you know what? And a lot of people will think that is such a waste, but it's not. Stop and think about it. If you make yourself completely and totally forget about everything, okay, and completely and totally unwind, it'll do you more good than sitting there and stressing and fighting for an hour so you can get out there and do things that you think is relaxing. And doing bad habits like that, believe it or not, is the same way addictions work, okay? If you do something that makes you feel good, and you think, boy, next time I'm going to do it twice as long and feel twice as good there, and then pretty soon you got to keep doing it more and more and more and more and more. And that's what I'm saying. See, you've built a habit of trying to be relaxed. I've built a habit of trying to unwind, and what you've done is you've created a bad habit that you didn't need to begin with. And somebody said, I don't know who said it, but you should live life totally unscripted, and I believe in that. Okay, for every second, every moment of the day, you should just take what comes along at that instant, and that's the instant you should live. There's nothing wrong with it. I'd mentioned I was going to do the Trans-American Trail, and I'm going to try to do it this year, okay? And there's people out there, they have mapped out trails, and you can buy all kind of brochures, and you can buy GPS coordinates, and you can buy maps and all that stuff of the trail that was laid out. When I do the Trans-American Trail, guess what? I ain't taking no maps. I'm going to go out there and I'm going to decide where I'm going to start from one state and where I want to wind up on the other end of the state there, and anything in between is just freelance. It's unscripted. I will follow any road. I will go through any towns. I'll make any detours that I have to, because I'm going to live each and every moment for that moment. I'm not going to sit there and say, well, according to the GPS, I've got to be in such and such town by 6 o'clock. Ain't going to worry about that, okay? And here again, I'm not going to do this thing just totally and blind. I'm going to know what towns are around, and so that way I can get whatever I need, whatever services I need, whether it be gasoline, or a place to sleep, or something to eat, whatever. But I'm not going to plan it, but I'm going to know what's there. If that makes any sense. I'm not going to plan the trip, but I'm going to know what every area has to offer. And fortunately, here in the States, until you get out there in some of the western states that has a lot of open ground, a lot of desert, there's no problem finding gas. There's no problem finding services. There's no problem finding none of this stuff, because there's a population everywhere. Like I said, now the exception to the rule is when I will have to do some planning, it will be when I do get out there in the deserts, okay? And there I'll look and I'll see, well, how far is it to the next town for the gas stop? If I'm riding a bike that only gets 100 miles to the tank, and the next gas stop is 120 miles, that's a hell of a push on that bike for 20 miles, okay? So like I said, I'm not going to go totally blind, but as far as getting there, I'm going to do it unscripted, totally and completely off the wall, and just take whatever comes up. And that's what I'm saying. That's why people should. There's nothing wrong with planning for your future. There's nothing wrong with planning for what you're going to do when you're retired, but you should just do everything unscripted. Break those bad habits. Break those habits, and you'll notice if you start thinking about the habits that you do, simple things like, okay, I go to work every day, and the first thing I do is I sharpen my pencil, or I go to work every day, and the first thing I do is I put in my earplugs, and it's like, break them habits. Break them habits. Because they're programming you to do habits. Break them, okay? And if that makes any sense. So like I said, you should live life totally unscripted. When you're planning your free time, don't plan your free time, just do it, okay? And you'll find out you have, and that's why I've always talked about the life, simple little pleasures, okay? Just a little simple things in life will make more meaning to you, that have more meaning for you than if you plan. And I would hate like hell to sit there and for a year plan a vacation, plan a trip, and then you get down there and nothing goes right. It's just going to piss you off, okay? And you're going to say, well, ain't no need worrying about next year because this here is so screwed up. Live it unscripted. Do very, very minimal amount of planning. I mean, don't go in there just totally blind. Do minimal amount of planning, okay? And when you do plan in a minimalistic way, always have an alternative. Always have an alternative route. Okay, if I can't make this such town by night, is there another town I can make that, just maybe go 20 miles out of my way? Can I do this? So always have all your options up there in front of you, okay? Live unscripted, but know your options. And that's what I'm saying. And life should be the same way. Live it unscripted, but know your options. Of course, you got to do what you got to do as far as making a living, and you got to do whatever somebody else tells you to do. That's just working, okay? That's neither here nor there. But the way you do things, okay? I was in maintenance, and I was a machine repairman, okay? And I whenever somebody'd go work on a machine there, sometimes there'd be 2 or 3 guys go over there, and they'd all be standing there, and I never went. Why? Because I want to live it unscripted. I don't know what these guys did, and I don't care what these guys did, because 9 times out of 10, it was wrong. So anyway, live it unscripted. I'm not saying I'm right by no means. Hell, I'm wrong about most everything. But live life unscripted, but do minimalistic planning. Always have options. You can do it unscripted, but always know your options, okay? But never sit down there and plan and stew and plan and stew and try to have a good time, because it's going to suck. Do it unscripted. Know your options and have a good time. But life's little simple pleasures, things that you run across unexpectedly, sometimes can be some of the best times you had. The other day, like I said, when I did that video on the CRF, I went down that mud road there. I hadn't planned on going down any mud roads. I didn't want to go down any mud roads, but it was one of those deals that once I got started, I had to go. So I'm I'm pedaling with my feet there, and I'm slipping the clutch a little bit there, and keep the power up, but yet I'm not, trying not to overpower. And it was like probably, I don't know, half the road's that way, but I got through it. It's one of those deals where you can't turn around, so you have to do it. But see that now the only other option I had there was somehow stand in the mud there and jerk around there and turn around. But I made it through. But anyway, lives should be unscripted. Take your time, do minimal planning, know your options. Okay, you should always know your option, and you should always have more than one option. It's like anytime I do anything, it's like, if I can't do it this way, can I do it this way? And everything I do, I always have an option. It's like somebody I used to, and I even yet today, if I build something or I work on something, I always think about, okay, if I can't do this, can I do this? Can I do this? Can I do this? But I don't really plan it. I just always have different options. Okay. And it works. So live life unscripted, plan your rides unscripted, but always have options. Okay, if that makes any sense. Anyway, I was just thinking about that today. I was down there just kicking around, walking up and down the bank, and I thought, you know what? It don't get no better. I hadn't planned on doing that, but it was like I just really enjoyed it. And I just sat there and listened to the birds and walked through the sand, and it's like, this is great. So if that makes any sense, hey, I hope it does. Ride safe, ride free.